Hello everybody, how you doing? I'm out in the garage. I've got some spare time because I finished up all of my pins for the craft show and I've got the majority of my stuff together. So I've got the evenings. It's a great week. The kids don't have any activities this week after hours, so I've got the evenings to work. And next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, this is my pin show or my craft show. The following Saturday is clean the garage, get it ready to go for the holidays. And since I have some spare time, I'm just out here taking care of a couple of odd and end projects, things that are in the way. I'm putting stuff up on the shelves up there. You can see I've got the shelves above the garage door, getting things put up there. I had a little rolling rack that I put together for the boys' Legos. And now what I want to do is work on my buddy's wheelbarrow. My good friend Kenny brought this wheelbarrow over to my house about 6 months ago, and I've been using it ever since. And you can see I'm still in the process of using it. I need to get this dirt out and spread it around the yard. I got a couple of spots where it needs to go. One problem with the wheelbarrow, and I've got it propped up with a paint can because, as you can see, the tire is literally coming off the rim. That poor tire is just dry rotted and shot, so much so that when Kenny brought it over, he also brought me a can of tire sealer or fix-a-flat, whatever you want to call that. And I've been using it. I'll pump the tire up, use the wheelbarrow, and then by the next day it is flat and on the ground. I have it up on the can because when it sits on the ground like that, it actually will come off of the rim. I really need to get this wheelbarrow back to Kenny, so what I'm going to do is as soon as I get a chance, it's dark now at 5 o'clock, so when I get home from work, I don't have an opportunity to really empty the wheelbarrow. But the following weekend, once the craft show's over, one of the first things I'm going to do is take this dirt out. And I've got a couple of holes in the yard that I want to fill. I'm going to get that wheelbarrow emptied out, and I'm going to get it washed out. And I have a couple of things I need to get rid of. Let me show you what they are. I've got 3 of these drains, these concrete drain guides, I don't know what you call them, on this side of the garage. And I've got 3 more on this side of the garage. And I really need to get rid of those. Now, up the street, there's an empty lot, and there's about 3 or 4 of those sitting in that lot where the builder bought a large number of them, and they set them there, and they just kind of pull out of that pile and use them on the houses. Well, I don't need these, and I hate to throw them away, so basically I'm just going to donate them to that pile, and then the builder, next time he builds a house, well, he just won't have to buy 6 of these drains. But I need to get my buddy's wheelbarrow back to him. And I want to say thank you to him for loaning me this wheelbarrow. And I think the best way for me to say thank you is by replacing his tire. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I bought a brand new tire. I showed you that one is just shot. I couldn't buy just the rubber tire. You have to buy the whole kit. It was, after tax and everything, 24 bucks. But this one comes with some spacers. And I noticed that the tire on that one, it wobbles back and forth on the axle. So I'm hoping these spacers will help stop that, as well as give Kenny a new tire. So I'm going to put this tire on tonight, and that'll make it easier for me over the weekend to empty the wheelbarrow and haul off those drains. And once I get it cleaned up, I'll give Kenny a call. He said just give him a holler. He's got a pickup truck, and he'll swing over and get it. And I'm not going to tell him I'm doing this. I'm just going to load it up in his truck. And I think he'll see it because the old wheel's red and rusty and this one's white and shiny. And I think he'll notice it right off. And I'm just going to say, hey, man, that's just my way of saying thank you for allowing me to use your wheelbarrow for literally 6 months. You can't ask for a better friend than that. So let's take care of getting this wheel replaced. I grabbed an 11/16" deep well socket. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove the bolts on this side and then the far side, which hopefully will allow the wheel to drop. And then I'll see what needs to be done to remove the axle from the old wheel and get it installed into the new wheel. I grabbed a deep well because you can see there's a large section of bolt sticking through the bottom, and a standard socket just won't fit. These are pretty loose too, so. Almost didn't need the socket. These things didn't have any bite at all. Okay. Oh, okay. This might not be so bad. Let's see. There we go. Pull the bolts up through the top. Let the bracket drop off, and it looks like the wheel is going to pop right loose. Okay, for the axle, I think it's going to pull right out. All right, not bad at all. Let me get that down a little lower so you can kind of see. These are the old spacers. They are just basically wore out. I'm going to go ahead and grab a razor knife. Well, wait a second. I may not need one. Nope, not going to need it. This is what I was worried about, was this strapping. Turn that a little bit. There we go. There's one side. Ooh, sorry about the camera. Set this out of the way. Let's see if that is the right size. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my grease gun, because this has a grease cert, and once I get this axle installed and get everything installed back onto the wheelbarrow, I want to shoot some grease in there so this thing will spin nice and smooth. I got a couple of extra bearings here that came with it, but these are for a larger axle. The axle I have fits perfectly in this particular set of bearings, so these will just lay aside. We've got a couple of spacers here. Let's see, these larger spacers we're not going to need. They go with the larger bearings, but I got a couple small ones that fit perfectly. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get this tire back on, get the axle back in, and just try to figure out which spacers are going to work the best so that I get a nice fit and the tire's not wobbling back and forth like this. And the reason why it's wobbling is you can see that these old spacers are just wore out, so I'll probably put them on backwards and then use these spacers, you know, probably right next to the wheel. But let's see what we've got. Let's see. Actually, I just said I was going to put that on backwards, and then I didn't bother to. Flip that baby. Let's put this axle on here, and we'll flip this baby, or put this spacer on here. We'll flip this baby around, put the bolt back on, run it through there. Well, you know what? I don't think I'm going to need these spacers if I just flip these around, because it looks like there's not going to be much room. This wheel is actually wider than that wheel. So I think what's going to happen is, look at that, it doesn't even poke through. The axle doesn't even poke through. So I think what we're going to end up doing is, let's get this up under the wheelbarrow, decide, because you see what the problem is. This wheel has an axle in the center that sticks out. This old wheel does not. So it had these larger spacers on it. I'm wondering if the smaller ones are going to be enough. I don't think well, you know what? No, I don't think the smaller ones are going to be enough. I think what we're going to have to do is, I think we're going to have to cut these spacers to the proper dimensions so that the wheel doesn't roll back and forth. So let's go ahead. I'm going to slide around to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and temporarily get this bracket just mounted on there so that I can put the wheel up beside them, and then mark, center the wheel, and then mark these spacers so we know where to cut them. I guess I should turn that so you can see it. But I'm going to mount the bracket, and I'm going to roll the wheel up behind it. We'll mark where it needs to be cut. We'll pull these off, these two off, and we'll cut them and reinstall it. Just going to drop these bolts in so that I can put the bracket back on. There we go. And that's perfect. Now we're going to center this, and you know what? Let's see. That's about center, but one thing that I didn't take into account is I don't have any way to mark the spacers, so I'm going to run into the garage and get something to allow me to mark these spacers, and then I'll come back and we'll get them marked. I'm back and I've got the old faithful red Sharpie. So let's line this wheel up. And then we'll come down here and we'll make a mark there. Well, that was not. Here, let's do it from behind. There's a mark. Now let's see, can we see? Yeah, we can see that perfect. So let me run over and I'm going to go into the garage. I'm just going to take a hacksaw and cut that off, and then we'll come back and reinstall it. And actually, and grab the other one. We'll do them both at the same time. Yeah, I can see the mark on that one. So we will, what I'm going to do is, I don't know how well you can see, but there's a mark here and there's a mark here. I'm going to center these two marks. All right? That way I guarantee that the wheel is centered, and we're going to cut them off. I'll be right back. I've shortened the two spacers, and what I did is I actually took the longer mark and cut it, both of them, to the same length, because I'd rather cut twice than cut them too short. So I was just trying to be careful and try to be a little ahead of the game on that one. Put these washers back on. And let's get this back under here. And, ooh, I tell you what, I didn't do too bad. Let's see, that goes on. Which side does that go on? There we go. That goes like that. All right. Slide in this side and see if I can make this work. Tell you what, I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit because the tire, this tire has air in it, so it's a little more difficult to, you know what? I have a better idea. Let's slide the axle out of the way. There we go. All right. And then this axle goes there. I think I put that one on backwards. I think that goes the other way. No, that's the only way it fits. There we go. That tire looks like it's perfectly centered. I think that looks pretty good. That was a good idea cutting them long, because otherwise we'd have had a problem. Let's get the nuts threaded back on. And make sure everything looks good. Snug it up by hand, and then we'll take the wrench and tighten her down. Okay. All right. To cut those spacers, I just used a little old Jorgensen miter saw. It's a hand miter saw, and they cut super easy. It was just like hot butter, really. I'm going to tighten both sides up because these are very loose. Okay. And I'm going to also get what looks like a 1/2 inch wrench. This bar should be down toward the front, and it's not. So I'm going to get a 1/2-inch wrench and adjust this bar down. I'll be right back. Well, the 1/2 inch turned out to be too small. This is actually a 9/16. So what I'm gonna do is start by loosening it a little bit. And that way I can rotate it down. There we go. Because that should be down. That's what you put on the ground to be able to dump the wheelbarrow. Let's go ahead and tighten this back up. Okay. All right. Really happy with that. That's going to work great. This new wheel is working out great. It's no longer wobbly. Those bushings were so worn that it was wobbly up front. Even when the tire was full, it would wobble to one side or the other and make it difficult to push the wheelbarrow when it had a nice load of dirt or rock in it. So this week, next weekend, we'll get this dirt cleaned out, and I'll show you that. I'll fill the holes for you. Well, the weekend after my craft show is over, I'm going to get this wheelbarrow emptied out. I'm going to get those drains hauled off. I'll get the hose out, and I will wash this wheelbarrow down thoroughly. I'll give my buddy a call, and I'll surprise him with the new wheel. I really think he'll like it. I think he'll appreciate it. I was always taught that when you borrow something, you return it in better condition than you received it. And that's all I'm trying to do. It's a great way to show respect. It's a great way to say thank you. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and come back and see me again real soon. Take care, everybody.